We have got to work in the garden today and get a lot of this debris cleaned up. Hey guys, welcome back to Horticulture Geek. I'm Ray, and thank you so much for joining me today here in the garden. And like I just said, today it is actually New Year's Day, January the 1st. I have got to work in my garden and get a lot of debris cleaned up. I have not done any flower bed cleanup yet. And I know this is a widely debated topic in the gardening community. A lot of people say, don't touch a thing until spring. Leave the habitat for the bugs and the forage opportunity for the birds. And some people say, go ahead and clean it out. I am kind of a middle road kind of guy. There are some things that I will leave, and there are some things that absolutely have to go. And so that's what I've got to work on today. And just like all of the rest of the country out there, we just had a really terrible cold snap come through. Temperatures down below zero. I lost a lot of things out here that I typically wouldn't lose, like annuals, my pansies, some of my cabbages, broccoli plants, a lot of those things that here in Zone 7, Central Arkansas, normally I grow straight through the winter. It's no issue. I've lost lots of those things. So I've lost some pottery, some pots cracked. So I've just got some garden cleanup to do, and I thought I'd bring you guys along for this project today. So we're going to walk around the garden. I'm going to show you kind of the state of affairs, what I plan to remove, what I plan to leave, why I'm going to do those things. And then I'm just going to set the camera up and get to work. So let me flip the camera around and you guys come along and we'll take a peek at the Horticulture Geek gardens. And I have to warn you right now, they are a mess. So here we go. Let's see what we have to deal with. All right, so we're gonna start off right here, looking in the back. This is my shade garden area, and I'll turn the camera slightly so you can see. Right over here is the new bed we just put in a few videos back. And so this bed is, you can see I've got a branch down right here that I've got to pick up. I've got some hydrangeas that need a little bit of a prune. Some perennials to cut back. I lost an evergreen tree right there, so that's got to be dug up and removed. But the important thing for me in this bed is that this bed contains a lot of hostas. Hostas are plants that you absolutely do not want to leave in your garden beds throughout the course of the winter, because things like hostas and peonies or peonies, however you want to say that, harbor slugs and snails. And so you do not want to perpetuate slugs and snails in your garden. And I have actually come through this area right here and cleaned some of the hostas out, but there's still some more dead hosta leaves and stuff. I've got to get in there and clean up and get around all of that. And then, just basic maintenance, picking up the stems, the limbs and debris that have fallen. Like this right here, I've got a branch hanging on my patio light, so I got to get that picked up. These hanging baskets have to be cleaned out, and I'll go ahead and get those ready for spring planting. And I've got some bulbs left. I may put some bulbs in those. Now then, moving over here, like this is a autumn fern. It's fine. I'm not even going to touch it. The holly ferns back here are fine. They're evergreen. I'm not going to touch those. I've got some heucheras coming up. So heucheras are fine. I'm not going to touch those. Right here in the freeze, this is my ligularia, or my tractor seat plant. So you can see that frost absolutely got him, so I've got to clean that up. Sorry if it's hard to see with the shade. Let me try to get out of the shade. This is my big elephant ear patch. This has to be cleaned up because, again, just like a hosta or a peony, the way that these leaves, those water-filled, thick, slimy leaves, the way they decay, I'm going to harbor slugs and snails here if I don't clean this up. And this area needs to be thinned out as well. So some of these bulbs need to be just dug up and removed. And now if we move this way, we're getting into the sun part of the garden. And I came through a few weeks ago and got some of the leaves up. But now leaves that are in the flower beds, I'm gonna leave the leaves in the flower bed. Believe it or, let me set the camera up here. Hang on just a second. Okay, so I flipped the camera around so that I can kind of talk to you and you can kind of see my thought process here. So I'm not close up on these things, but you can kind of see. So now when we get over here to the shade area, the sun area, this is where, as gardeners, the controversy comes in. Because you do want to leave things for wildlife, for bird forage, for beneficial insects, things like that. Bees, especially native bees. Now, the leaf debris in the flower beds, I'm gonna leave that. It's not an obscenely thick layer of leaf debris. And so that is just adding organic matter back into the flower beds, which is a good thing. Now, if I had leaves, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches deep, that would be too much. That would smother out my flower beds. But in this situation, I just have a nice 1/2 inch to inch layer of leaves and pine needles. They are perfectly fine to stay here. So I'm not gonna worry about that. These big, tall spikes right here, these are my lily stalks. So those are for the giant lilies that grow here. The plant is dead. The bulb will push new growth from the bulb in the spring. So that stalk there is just trash. There's no forage left on that stalk. So those are gonna get cut down all along and come out. There's some peonies right there that'll come out. Like I said, slugs and snails have to go. Things like coneflowers can stay. I still have some coneflower heads over here. Now the thing that's fun about coneflowers is they're a hollow stem. So the hollow stem of the coneflower allows like certain varieties of native bees and ladybugs and other beneficials will get in those and winter over. And then the flower heads provide forage for birds. So we'll leave that kind of stuff. The ornamental grass that right there. The ornamental grass right there that you can see poking up will get a haircut today because it really isn't doing anything beneficial. There's no forage on that. And so it'll get a haircut. So that's just kind of what I think when I do this project. That's what I'm looking for. So there are things I will leave. The coneflower heads, the rudbeckia heads, things like that. Those can be pruned off late winter, early spring when fresh growth is coming. But then there's some things, if they're not beneficial to me or if they're just really ratty and I don't like the way they look, then they can go ahead and go and clean the bed up. But as a gardener, you want to kind of look at your surroundings, where your needs are, what wildlife, insect issues you have, and make sure you either leave things to help beneficials, take away things to help get rid of bad pest problems, and then do what aesthetically looks good to you. So every gardener has to find their own individual balance in that regard. And there is lots of different beliefs and opinions out there, and mine is just one. So you really have to do your own kind of research to figure out where you fall in that spectrum. And so that's what I'm telling you. For me, an average home backyard gardener, I understand I've got beneficial insects out here I want to protect. I understand I've got birds and things that I want to leave some forage for, but I also understand there's harmful pests and things that I want to nip in the bud, and I don't want to leave them places to harbor over. And aesthetically, I'm going for an aesthetic look here. So I think that's every gardener has to find that balance. So now let me flip the camera back around and we'll just continue pointing out a few things before we get to work. Okay. So here you can really get a close-up of the lilies. So there's no seeds left in these lily pods. These are literally just dried up stems. They're really no good. And like I said, this plant is going to push all new growth from the bulbs in the spring, so those need to go away. As I go in through these beds, if I see any weeds, like there's a weed right there, I'll go ahead and yank that up. This is a clematis vine right here. Again, this clematis vine is going to grow back fresh from the ground, and it just looks messy right here. So when I clean the peony or the peony out, I'm also going to clean the clematis out and get that out of the way. Grasses that shouldn't be growing need to come out. Again, this ornamental grass can go. All of these things right here, these perennials, since it looks a mess, while this could be, if you have a natural wild garden, these types of things you could probably leave. I mean, these are just perennials, but we've just had a hard freeze. The tops of these plants have been killed back and they look a mess. So I'm going to go ahead and get these out of here and get this bed cleaned up. And like you can see here, I've got an iris patch. Well, I've already got green leaves on these irises coming up. So I've got to get this bed cleaned out. And this is my time also, once the bed is cleaned out, to put in any compost I'm going to be adding to these beds, putting in any mulch that I'm going to be adding to these beds, the top dress, before all of this other stuff go ahead and start sprouting out. Because down here in the south, believe it or not, yes, it's January, but things like irises and daffodils and early spring bloomers will start peeking out above the soil, if they're not already out, in just a few weeks. So we've got a very short window to get compost in these beds and get fresh mulch in these beds while the getting is good. Now these leaves right here, these will be gotten up because these are just on a gravel path under the swing. So those are not beneficial to anything. So that's just mess. That'll be gotten up. You can see I've got a little oak tree that sprouted. So that's a weed that's got to come up. This is a hibiscus right here. Hibiscus is another plant that, just like the lilies, it will push a whole entirely brand new plant from the crown, from the root. So all of this dead growth from this past year will get pruned out of here. It will go away. Another peony that has to be pruned and gotten out of here. You can see these hanging baskets. So my cabbages are toast, my pansies. There may be a little, I'll probably prune these pansies. There's a little life left in them. They may flush back out. But for the most part, the prettiness in these baskets is done. More lilies to prune out. This planter has yet to be cleaned out, so this has to be completely emptied out, and this will get all fresh soil. And so that's just kind of the name of the game here. This is a miniature buddleia or butterfly bush. Now again, that winter storm that we just had really did a number on this plant. But a buddleia or a butterfly bush is a plant that typically just flushes out new growth. So I don't need to prune this yet. This is a plant that I will not touch until the spring. And then the plant is going to have to show me. Now, obviously, these leaves got zapped, so I can come in here and strip some of these, messier pieces out. But I won't do any hard pruning on this bush because the plant is going to have to show me what's still alive and what is dead when it flushes out with new leaves in the spring. So that's one I'm just going to have to wait on. Again, some more perennials here that can probably get cut back. Another hibiscus right back there that'll get completely cut down. So just some general cleanup and some leaf removal on the concrete. So obviously I don't need drifts of leaves on the concrete, so that'll get picked up as well. All right, we'll just swing around this way so you can see the state of the rest of the garden. This was sad. My broccoli, it was almost ready to pick, and that cold snap got it. And I should have just went ahead and picked it, but honestly, with Christmas and everything else, I forgot. So that was my bad, but that is all trash. That'll get yanked out as well. This is daylily right here. You can see the daylily just has a mess left. All of that will get pulled out as well. Because the daylily, again, it's one of those plants that's going to completely flush out new leaves from the crown of the plant in the spring. All this old growth at this point is just trash and mess. It needs to be picked up and gotten rid of. So that is the state of the Horticulture Geek garden at the moment. And now we have to fix it. So here we go. All right, guys, so you probably noticed I cut the camera off. I let it roll for a few minutes while I was working here, but honestly, I'm filthy, I look a mess, but who wants to see me crawling around in the dirt, pruning some stuff out? So I figured I'd just show a snippet of that, and then we'll just cut to the chase here. So that's what I did. So, but as you can see from behind me, we've got a lot of debris cleaned up. To me, it's looking so much better. So let me flip the camera around and we'll just do a quick tour and point out everything that we did. Here we go. All right, so we picked up all the sticks and debris, did all that. I mean, there's a few little ones left, but that's okay. And then I really took in over here and got rid of a bunch of stuff that did not need to be around, that was just looking messy. So I got in and got all of some of the debris out. Like you can see right here, if I zoom in, there's some not Susan Lord, some purple coneflower that I left. That's fine. Took down all the iris stalks, took down the peonies, took down the clematis, pruned back some stuff. Like this is a sedum right here. I left it because there is still a little bit of forage left on that sedum. Pruned back the perennial grass, pulled out weeds that I came across that were just apparent. I still have to get some leaves removed from under here, but I'm losing daylight at this point. And again, over here, just cleaned out the trash, pruned down the stuff that needed to go, got the peonies cleaned out. I got the hanging baskets cleaned up. And what I did with my hanging baskets is I just chopped the cabbages, the ornamental kales off at the ground. That's fine. And I just gave the pansies a haircut. And I'm hoping that the pansies will flush back out. There is still some life left in the pansies, so hopefully they will flush back out. Again, over here, just picked out the debris, pruned back some perennials that were just overgrown and a mess. I just cleaned the stuff out of this pot. I haven't emptied this pot yet. Got my leaves up out of my gravel here in the little patio at the raised bed. If you're in the market for a raised bed, hit my link down below, and you can get 10% off of a raised bed just like mine from vegiga.com. They are, I work with them, and you have a promotional code. So if you're in the market for a raised bed, I love the Vegiga raised bed. hit my link down below and use my promotional code HortGeek10. And then I just continued around, and we cleaned a bunch of the leaves and debris up off the driveways. You can see I've got a pile of debris here. I did not make it to this pot yet. I'll get it another day. I've got several bags of debris over there. This is my patio rug. It's here because I need to hose it off. And my driveway is slanted right there, so I can hose it off and the water will run off. So that's why that's there randomly in the middle of the driveway. Don't think I'm a nut job. So that is it. All right, guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up for me here today in the garden. Like I said, you know, it was just a perfect time for me to get out here and do some garden maintenance on January the 1st. T-shirt, shorts, 70 degrees outside on January the 1st, coming off of a terrible, terrible Arctic blizzard that most of the country has dealt with. But it was time for me to get out here and work on these projects, and I thought I'd bring you guys along. So some key points to take away from today's video is, like I've said, when you do your garden bed cleanup, whether you do it in the fall or the spring, really up to you. If you do it in the fall, make sure you're only removing those things that really need to be removed in the fall, unless it's just an unsightly mess and you can't deal with it, and then go ahead and deal with it. But if there's things in the garden that you can leave, coneflowers, black-eyed Susans, whatever, leave those there. They're good forage for wildlife. They're good habitat for our beneficial insects. If you know you have a harmful insect problem in your garden, now's a good time to get out there and remove the things that they like to live on or that they are living in. So get rid of the hostas and the peonies, cut those completely back to the ground to prevent slugs and snails from harboring over. If you have a particular plant that is just absolutely chocked full of aphids, go ahead and get that out. Get that out of the garden while they're dormant. They're not moving around. They're less likely to spread throughout your garden when you disturb them. Now's a good time to do that kind of thing. And if you need to treat for a specific insect, disease, fungal problem, you know, you just read your labels and work on stuff like that when you have nice, pretty days. You can do some of that stuff right now too. But the name of the game is to just get out and enjoy your garden and get the work done that needs to happen, and hopefully enjoy your space. So thank you so much for coming along with me today as I worked in my garden. Hopefully it's inspired you, shown you something. Maybe it'll encourage you to get out and take advantage of beautiful days wherever you live. I hope you have had a fantastic new year. 2023 is here, and that means we have a whole fresh beginning in our gardens with lots of beautiful things to come and lots of growth to watch. So it's an exciting time. And I hope you'll stick around to see my gardening journey unfold here for the 2023 season. And by doing that, by subscribing below if you're not subscribed. I will say the vast majority of my viewers aren't subscribed to my channel. The YouTube metrics tell me that. So if you're viewing this video and you're enjoying it, and you watch my channel, and for some reason you haven't subscribed, I would encourage you to please go ahead, create a YouTube account. It's free, and subscribe to my channel and others that you love watching. And then that way, when you subscribe and hit that bell, whenever I post new stuff, it'll automatically send you a notice, and you'll know to come check out what's going on in the garden. So that's it for me today. Thanks for sticking around and let me ramble on a little bit. I hope you've had a great new year. And from my garden to yours, I wish you all the best and happy gardening.